Hey everyone, this is Car Ray Rob, where I'm Ray.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Mr. KittyKaiju.
And we want to welcome you to a brand new episode of A Copy of a Copy.
A copy of a copy. A copy of a copy. A copy of a copy. A copy of a copy. A copy of a copy. A copy of a copy. A copy of a copy. A copy of a copy. A copy of a copy.
Alright, guys, I'm back for my first ever copy of a copy. But first, Ray, Rob, what is it we do here?
I'll pick this up, Rob, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
On A Copy of a Copy, we watch originals and remakes, and we kind of compare and contrast them. We kind of see why was the remake made? Should it have been made? What were they trying to get accomplished?
Absolutely, and we found some pretty interesting ones. We found some interesting ones, and you know we've always kind of looking for the cash grab. We might
have found that.
And we might have found that. But as Mr. KittyKaiju so aptly said, this is his first ever A Copy of a Copy, our first guest ever on this show. So we are very happy to have him here, and we have him for a very special reason.
So this movie that we're doing is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a staple of the monster movie genre. It was created in 2013, directed by Guillermo Del Toro. Of course, I am talking about Pacific Rim.
That's
Yes,
right.
we've got
Pacific
Titans entering
Rim.
the chat.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The giant monsters entering the chat.
And that is Mr. KittyKaiju's specialty.
Yes.
If I say, obviously,
Yes.
it's in his name. It's
Yeah.
in his name.
You're the expert on this one now.
For real.
Exactly. And what we are doing here on A Copy of a Copy for this episode is we are comparing it to what it was a kind of a trend, and I don't know if it still is technically a trend that's happening, but it was for a while where a studio was specifically making kind of direct to DVD remakes, rip-offs.
Yeah,
Really.
I think the Sci-Fi Channel does that now.
Is it okay? Of these kind of big spectacle movies that were coming out, and we are doing that by watching the 2013, since it came out the exact same year, probably the week before the Pacific Rim came out, Atlantic Rim.
Yes.
East Coast,
Okay.
West Coast vibes.
Exactly.
Alright, this is going to be a long one. This is going to be a long episode, guys, because I have a lot to rant about this. But, as you may know, Pacific Rim has a sequel made in 2018, Pacific Rim Uprising. I don't care what anybody says, it is also fire. Hot take alert. Hot take alert, okay? I know people hate on it for, like, no reason. And, well, I know the reasons, but, like, I just don't see that. And Atlantic Rim also has a sequel, Atlantic Rim Resurrection, also made in 2018. But
Have you seen it? Have you seen Atlantic Rim?
nope,
Okay, yeah.
never. I've seen Pacific Rim, though.
Sure.
Both
Oh, yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
And Pacific Rim the Black. Pacific Rim the Black was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, as I said, this was kind of a trend, and it has been going on for a long time. So obviously this happened in 2013, but I used to work a long time ago, aging myself. I worked at Blockbuster.
A long time ago.
Exactly.
Before time had a name.
It wasn't that
Before
long.
the internet.
It wasn't that long.
Before the internet.
But I worked at
Maybe.
Blockbuster Video, and at that time there was this trend where a big Blockbuster movie would be coming out. I'll use for example Spielberg's version of War of the Worlds.
Oh yeah,
And when
that one.
Yep, and when that would come out in theaters
Back in my
on like
day.
a Friday, like the Tuesday before that, or maybe the week before that, a direct-to-DVD version of War of the Worlds would appear on our shelves, and it would always be kind of very off-brand, lower effects.
They
kind
want
of
you to
thing.
rent the wrong movie on accident.
Exactly, like, and it would whereas the Spielberg one starred Tom Cruise. The one on the shelf starred C. Thomas Howell.
Right.
So it was, and I cannot tell you the number of times that somebody would either rent that one, the C. Thomas Howell one, thinking it was the Spielberg one, or they would come to the is this the new one? And we'd have to explain to them, no, this is not the new one. This is some direct to
The
DVD ripoff that really is kind
For
of
real.
meant to just capitalize on this new movie that's coming into theaters.
The literal definition of a cash grab.
Exactly, it is the
True.
literal definition of a cash grab, and we thought we may have had that when we did Aladdin, because Disney is clearly kind of cash grabbing by doing the live action remakes of their animated films. But this one almost seems so blatant. I don't think there's any other way to look at it. But
Yeah.
since I've never seen Atlantic Rim. Ray, you've never seen Atlantic Rim?
No.
So-
I've never seen it either. We're
With Kitty
going
Kaiju,
in blind.
We're going in blind. So maybe, maybe there is some redeeming factor.
It's got Graham Greene.
Oh.
I
Okay.
know. I just saw that, which kind of blew my mind.
Guys, people say that Atlantic Rim is better than Pacific Rim
What?
Uprising.
Oh man!
So-
Now that's a whole nother
I'm
layer
looking
to
at
this
on
episode.
IMDb,
That's
it's rated. It's got a 1.7.
Oh,
That is low.
Oh yeah, I looked up reviews. It's so bad it's good. Like it's such
Oh,
a
it's
one of
blatant.
those movies.
Yeah, and okay, so we need to tear off the drywall and look at the insulation, because Atlantic Rim is just one part of an entire web of rip-off movies, all made by the same studio, called The Asylum. So basically, they just make blatant rip-offs like Transmutators, Atlantic Rim,
War of the
Alien-
Worlds. When
Yeah.
I get to that one, I mean, if that's the same
Yeah.
company, I don't know.
Yeah.
If it
I
still
don't know. It probably is.
Is. Sure.
Alien versus Hunter,
Oh man, that's rough.
Monster, Ape versus Monkey, or Ape versus Monster, or whatever they call it.
Oh man.
I don't know. A lot of this stuff is on Tubi, so you guys can watch whatever you want. No judgment.
So it's clear that this is again very much absolutely a cash grab.
But
But
did they make a good movie on accident?
Maybe.
A fun movie
You
on
never
accident.
know.
No, here's the thing. I looked it up, and apparently these movies are made like super cheaply. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's so like funny how cheap they are. Like they just reuse extras over and over again,
sure.
and they use like cheap filming techniques. And I bet the CGI is not that bad,
I
but
think I'm
definitely worse
looking
than the real thing.
Forward to it.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never
Again, this
know.
is just. I think either way, this is going to be a fun experience. So, real quick, Pacific Rim is about, as Mr. KittyKaiju so aptly put, a crack in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, which
A butt crack.
a butt crack, where these kaiju spring from, and because of this, mankind has created these Jaegers to
Giant
fight
robots,
giant
Aaron
robots
Yeager.
to fight them and destroy them and protect humanity. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if Atlantic Rim is the exact same plot line.
I
or not.
think it is.
Okay.
I think it's just the crack is in the Atlantic Ocean.
Fair enough.
East Coast represent.
There you go. So yes, if this is exact ripoff, that's going to be absolutely hilarious. But we're not going to know until
We
we
don't
go and
know.
watch this movie. So that's exactly what we are going to do right now. Ray, Mr. KittyKaiju, and we are going to go and we are going to watch Pacific
Yeah.
Rim and we're going to watch Atlantic Rim, and we're going to
Alright.
find out if this cash grab is as cash grabby as we think it is.
Ray and Rob are currently watching the film. Wait, films? There are two? How long is this supposed to take? I've got places to be, you know. Ray and Rob will be right back when they're done watching the films.
All right, everyone, we are back. We are back from the Pacific Rim and the Atlantic Rim. We've been both.
I never
Yes.
want to go to the Atlantic ever again.
That's
True.
I can understand. So
Stick to Pacific.
exactly. So I had an idea in my head when I started kind of thinking how we were going to structure this episode, how best to do it, and I was thinking before we watch these movies, okay, let's structure it by comparing the kaiju, comparing the Jaegers, and then we can talk a little bit about the narrative. But there are literally only one kind of Jaeger and one kind of kaiju in Atlantic Rim, so there's
Yeah.
not much to compare.
It's just
in
a
that
Rock'em
regard.
Sock'em robot.
Right.
Yeah,
That Atlantic
exactly.
Rim literally just looks like Rock'em Sock'em robot. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
And they just have different lights.
right. It's almost color coded, like they're Power Rangers
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Voltron.
And they're wearing swimsuit, like diving suits. They're like,
Yeah.
they have cool suit.
Yeah, like What?
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the thing with this is it's so interesting, and we talked about it kind of in the before section, and just in general, we always kind of go into these wondering if we're ever going to find that pure cash grab, and I mean there's really nothing else to call this but a cash grab.
But it's like petty crime. Like, you're not going to make a lot of cash. There's no,
Right.
there's like, you're stealing nickels and dimes because there's got to be no return on investment. This thing sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's basically like they know. So I to be fair, I have not watched, I would say, any of the other Asylum rip-off movies.
Yeah.
So
like
I-
Transmutators.
Right. So
Alien vs. Hunter.
I got to imagine that the similarities between them are the formula, I should say, is the same, where it's like you just kind of sniff at that IP that you're trying to rip off. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's
like with Ape vs. Monster is like a ripoff of Godzilla vs. Kong. Like, it's just a giant ape and a giant reptilian
all you
kaiju
need.
fighting each other.
right,
Yeah.
and that's basically
that's
it. And that's what it is here. So you've got giant robots, you've got a kaiju, and that's it. Everything that kind of makes Pacific Rim interesting is completely gone from Atlantic Rim.
I was
like,
really-
they don't even attempt to do some of it.
I was an
most of
hour
it.
into an Atlantic Rim, and I'm like, my note says, "What is this movie even about?" Like,
Right.
it's not.
Yeah.
Nothing's like things are just happening. There's no like characters have no arc. They're not like going through any process. The animals are popping up, but they don't really question why. There is no reason why. Like, this isn't a movie. This
Right.
is just a random things filmed and put into some type of sequential order.
Yeah. Like there's the hook of Pacific Rim, there's a breach in the middle of the ocean that these kaiju are emerging from, and it's constantly monitored, and that's there's obviously an underlying force behind them that are sending them. That's what you end up finding out, and that's kind
The
of the big-
precursors.
right, the precursors, and that's kind of the big thing. Yeah, with this, it's just their eggs are in oil. They're in crude oil.
Yeah. Why are
And
their
like
eggs
Crude
out?
oil.
Right,
They're
why
just
they're
are.
right. It's just there,
And there's no reason to even have the mechs there. There's no
Yeah.
reason to have the dinosaurs or I think they actually call them dinosaurs.
Yeah,
They
they
do.
do.
They
They do.
call them
Then there's no
dinosaurs.
reason. If there's no reason to even expect these things are coming, then why did they even have the mechs made? There's no explanation
Yeah.
really there.
And like the kaiju just get taken out by a couple of bombs. Like the first one gets taken out by a couple of bombs. The second one gets taken out by a couple of bombs. And then the third one gets taken out by a big bomb.
by a nuclear bomb. But
Yeah.
like the mechs don't really do anything.
Yeah.
They fight it for a little bit, but they're not really at the end of the day even needed.
Yeah.
Right.
They're certainly needed in Pacific Rim. Like
Yeah,
this
definitely.
is like they're almost not even powerful enough.
Yeah.
Is part of the problem and part of the drama there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like the kaiju evolved past the Jaegers,
Yeah.
which is the central crux to the movie, is that they're becoming obsolete, and they're gonna completely disband the program.
Yeah, uh-huh. That's like the main thing. And then my boy Stacker just pops another pill after the UN crashes out at him. He's just like, "Ugh,"
Yeah,
and
Well-
he just pops another pill.
It's kind of funny, like
Goated.
when Pacific Rim is obviously 10 times funner than Atlantic Rim, but
10?
100.
but one of my notes was like, 10,000.
Yeah.
One of my notes was almost like, I almost kind of felt like the Pacific Rim characters were like a little like shallow or maybe like low hanging fruit. Like, my
A little
brother
bit.
was killed by a kaiju. My dad was killed by a kaiju. That's why I want to drive a Jaeger. Like,
Right.
Little
but
bit.
when you compare them to Atlantic Rim, that's like it's like
Oscar
Shakespeare.
level. It's
Yeah.
like Oscar
Yeah.
level
And like,
stuff.
but the characters in Atlantic Rim are just soulless faces.
Yeah.
And like that part where Jimmy and Tracy confess to Red that they've been like hooked up, and he's just like, after all we've been through, water under the bridge, man. I can't tell you how many of my brother's girlfriends I've hooked up with. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, dude, what?
No, absolutely. They don't even and that's kind of the thing that I find so interesting about Atlantic Rim is
No,
I
nothing's interesting. Don't use the word interesting.
Well, no, it's not interesting that it's something that they did. It's interesting what they didn't do, and it's this idea that yes, I get it. This. So I looked it up. This movie was made for $500,000.
Oh
Yeah,
my
500.
God, what
So
a waste.
yeah, so it's $500,000, which I mean, yeah, it's a waste, but it's also like, okay, I get why the CGI isn't great, or some of the effects aren't great, and they had to kind of make do with whatever. But in the end, you can still write a decent enough script that you can possibly get people to overlook that stuff.
Yeah.
They almost didn't even attempt to do that. They didn't really attempt to craft interesting characters or do anything like that. It really felt like almost a paint by numbers situation to kind of just strictly rip off Pacific Rim. Again, just enough to to not be copyright infringement, but like
it's like that. I don't understand. The hero of Atlantic Rim is Red.
Let's
right?
talk a little bit about that. Yeah. Let's compare them.
Like Red as a character, like he's the hero. He saves the day. He gets the girl. Like, but he is a terrible person.
Yeah.
Like, they don't do anything in the movie to make him seem nice or have like a redeeming arc. Like, he's just an alcoholic, terrible, like inappropriate, terrible, like has no, like, he's like, I'm the best in the world. I saved the world. I'm an amazing person. Like,
Dude, you didn't.
He didn't do anything. Like, but like, why is this guy the hero? Like, this, you're not even trying to like develop this character at all. He's horrible. I wanted him to die.
Right.
Yeah, accurate.
I almost wish you didn't make it out of this movie.
I know. They try for like the Iron Man ending and like where he goes into outer space.
Right. Which I thought that's what how they were gonna rectify the love triangle, was that he was gonna die,
sacrifice himself.
Right.
Like, that would actually make some sense.
Right.
No, they need him for the sequel. Oh wait, they don't. They're just gonna toss him aside.
Maybe, I don't know.
I think they do. We watched the trailer for the second one. Remember?
That's fair. But so like it's so let's talk a little about Raleigh then. Like, so
My boy Raleigh.
Right. So we got Red in Atlantic Rim, which has no
one
depth.
corner.
Right, and then
the
in the
challenger.
other end, and then that's true, because the champ clearly is Raleigh.
Yeah.
Because as you said, it's true. Like, it's not like there's super depth. As far as his weakness and need, as far as his character goes in Pacific Rim, but it's still way more compelling than anything they try to do in Atlantic Rim. The loss of the brother, and the scene it's a good scene,
really,
and I think, and this is the thing that I think makes Pacific Rim so interesting, because you could just reduce it down to big robots versus big monsters, fine, but I do think that the elements that make Pacific Rim so compelling is the drift. And the thing, how they control these Jaegers.
And they went into that a lot in Pacific Rim the Black, which is really interesting. Like, Pacific Rim the Black, it has a much darker tone, and I really appreciated it for how they sort of explain all these things and go deep into these things, like the kaiju cult where the women worship the kaiju,
right?
And I think that was really interesting, and all the stuff with Boy and the kaiju shifters, and the Breacher, The Breacher made history in Pacific Rim for being a Category 6 kaiju,
Yeah.
I kind of wish they did more with explaining the drift. I really find they kind of say some one-liners, Rado be I still I know all the thoughts of my brother as he died, or my arm hurts because of that pain. I think they should have gone into more of that trauma and stuff.
But I agree. But I think that you can make the argument, yes, that they could have gone more into it. But I do think that what they do go into, even the little bit that they do, makes it more compelling. It adds depth to Raleigh's character, being connected to his brother when he died, and having that, being able to feel that fear, and all that kind of stuff. I think it helps you solidify that character and make you root for him and understand and have empathy for him and his journey. And at least with at Pacific Rim, they try to flesh out the side characters as well.
Yeah, the female character actually has something to her,
right?
Yeah. I think because Mako, again, she has the same kind of trauma, and where her family was killed by a kaiju, and she's saved by Stacker, I guess, and she's not allowed
Coyote Tenga.
She's not allowed to drive a Jaeger, but he gives her that opportunity, and it fails. It doesn't work at first, she gets lost in the drift, which I thought was, it's cool and compelling there. That's to me, that feels like there's so much more real danger when it feels like that Jaeger's going to attack, or blow up the base and kill everybody in it. 10 times more drama than anything like Atlantic Rim even tries for.
Yeah.
Well,
I think you're right, and when you go back to Atlantic Rim, just having them basically be these, big droid, big robots. They don't even, they don't call them Jaegers.
Rock'em Sock'em robots.
Right.
Rock'em Sock'em.
And
They
having
just call them
the
robots.
control.
They literally just call them robots.
Yeah, they
Right.
call them bots. Like,
Yeah.
bro.
And just having the control of them be very simple. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I have a joystick, and I'm
Right.
controlling it because I have a joystick.
And
It's
there's
like-
no window to look out of. They're like using
Well,
radar.
no, there is actually. Well, they show them in a window, but there's no window from the cockpit, which is actually a weird detail. I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Like, because they're housed in these little stations, like, below the pecs, like the pectorals.
Well, I'm talking
And-
about Atlantic. Are you talking about Pacific Rim?
No,
or-
I'm talking about Atlantic Rim.
Okay, yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
know where they were
so
stored.
like they're housed in these little stations under like the pectorals, and there are 2 stations, so I thought there was going to be 2 pilots, but no. But that is a weird detail because like they're shown in windows, but they just have radar. It is weird.
The stuff that annoys me is like when you see them look to the right as if like because there's something to the right of them when they're in the mech, but I'm like, there's not this big panoramic screen in front of them.
Right.
So like they're
Yeah.
literally turning their head and looking at a wall. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like the
Mhm.
physics
yeah.
isn't working here.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's funny.
There's
because,
even a little of that in Pacific Rim, but it's like you feel like they're connected to the eyes more in that
Yeah,
movie.
they
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because their visors.
They really
are
never
more
show
like-
the inside of that visor and what they see.
Yeah, but you can assume that they're seeing basically through the eyes of the Jaeger.
Yeah.
whereas, yes, you don't have that. in
Yeah, and they
Atlantic
have
Rim.
helmets and like
Right.
neural links to the Jaeger.
Right.
So
right.
I do think that they have some sort of like technical sight.
Yeah.
But they do not have that in Atlantic Rim. They're literally
No,
when they turn their
no.
heads, they are staring at a wall.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's funny because again, with the budget, and this is the thing, like, so obviously, through this podcast, we're going to point out, incident after incident in Atlantic Rim that just is cheesy and bad and looks terrible, and knowing there's only $500,000 budget, like I would normally cut them some more slack, but like I said, because it seems like they didn't even take the story seriously,
No.
I end
But-
up not.
You
Shot
know-
from an iPhone.
Yeah,
Right.
but you know how you say the movie was made from $500,000? Halloween is a great movie, right? Like Michael Myers.
Yeah.
That movie was made for $300,000.
Well, yeah, but it was also 1970.
That's
Yeah,
good,
but
so
still.
different. But I
Different,
agree. I
yeah.
agree what you're saying. I
Yeah,
totally
there's a
understand what
lot
you're
of like low
Yes.
budget movies that
Yes.
made millions and
Right.
became staples of
Right.
cinema.
And to be fair with Halloween, there's not a level of CGI
No,
needed. and
there's
things like
no
that.
CGI.
So, like,
It's just
you're
a guy in a
taking-
suit.
Right. So you're taking a big concept with
Yeah.
Atlantic Rim, trying to make it on a $500,000 budget. It's like, that's you're. But yes.
And then Pacific Rim at least I like that the scientists. It's not just the mech drivers,
right.
right? There's also the scientists and like trying to understand the Jaegers, and they kind of show you what civilization is like now that you live in a world that have kaiju and stuff.
Right.
Understand the kaiju, I should have said. But like again, none of that exists in Atlantic Rim because like the kaiju or the dinosaurs are just randomly
Dinosaurs.
showing up, and they're not worried about this continuing.
Well, yeah. Well, absolutely. Because there's no world building.
No.
It just is, like you said. It just happens. It's not so much of about it's just an event that happens. That's it. Like and there's no world springing up around it. But you bring up a really great point with Newt and Herman because I think they're
My
two
dog
really
Newt.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
he's
he,
me.
Yeah, I think in some ways,
Yeah.
he is. But I agree that at least through them you can connect to this interest of the kaiju.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
And-
me.
Right. Well, right. And
I'm into
how
that stuff.
and so you're able to speak to this how each kaiju is very individualized.
Yeah, uh-huh.
In Pacific Rim, whereas as we said in Atlantic Rim,
They're
it's
getting
just one.
because
It's
they're
the
adapting
same.
they're adapting to the Jaegers.
Yeah.
Right. But even with that, they just take the time, to have the different ones like Knife Head and the different
Trespasser.
Right.
And Scunner and Raiju and Slattern.
Right. They take the time
And
to kind of
Onibaba.
create something. Now and again, I cutting Atlantic Rim slack, obviously the budget of Pacific Rim is way more.
Halloween.
But at least they tried. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
somewhat.
or I say in Pacific Rim, at least they took the time to create something more.
Yeah, they're
And
different. The battles are going to be different because of the new skills of the kaiju.
Right.
Where the battles in Atlantic Rim were just the same thing over and over. It's punching and kicking, punching
Right.
and kicking.
And harpoons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
eventually
totally.
They get a sword. Yeah, eventually they get a sword, but it's like it's bad.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Christopher, since you said that you know, or so you're obviously a big kaiju fan
Yeah.
and all of that, which one is your favorite kaiju in Pacific Rim?
The first movie?
Yes, the first. We're just talking about the first one.
Okay, alright. I gotta go Scunner because I think, like, so, for a little context, Scunner is one of the final 3 kaiju. It's him, Raiju, and Slattern. And so Scunner is the one whose head opens up. And he has,
sure.
like, a smaller head underneath it.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that's just so cool. And, like, I imagine him just, like, charging at a Jaeger, and, like, his head opens up, and he's, like, a spear, and he just, like, cuts, like, a giant hole in, like, the chest,
Mhm.
and then it's, like, you know?
Yeah.
It's peak.
It is.
Childlike wonder.
I have to throw my. I think I have to throw my hat in with Knife Head. I really like the Knife Head.
Yeah,
kind of
he's
design.
iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's, like, the, kind of, like, the poster child. It's,
Yeah.
like, him, Slattern, and Mega Kaiju.
Well, and again, you kind of got you've got all the different kinds of kaijus, and you got all the different Jaegers. Which
Yeah,
in Pacific
uh-huh.
or Atlantic Rim, you only have the one
The
kind. So there's,
Rock'em
like,
Sock'em
right,
Robots.
so you don't really care about that. So on the flip side, Mr. KittyKaiju, what is your favorite Jaeger?
Again, in the first one, right?
Yes, just the first
so, all of the Jaegers that are in the first one, I really like Striker Eureka. I
Okay.
think that Striker Eureka is awesome. I like the color scheme. I like the arsenal. I also like Crimson Typhoon.
Mhm.
But like I used to be really put off by Crimson Typhoon and like his 3 arms. I used to be kind of put off by that, but I like him a lot now.
Yeah.
But still, I'm probably gonna have to go Striker.
Well, if you like Striker so much, does that mean you like Chuck Hansen as a character?
No.
No, that's fair. He's,
They can
Yeah.
keep him
he's a big
independent.
jerk.
Yeah, well, like, he has, like, character development, you know?
Sure.
And doesn't he die with Stacker at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, he has, like, some kind of character development.
Just
Right.
the
somewhat.
hair.
Just
yeah.
a hair.
Yeah, just a hair, and then he
He's
dies.
like, I'm a jerk for no reason, but my character development is I'm not a jerk
Yeah, but, like,
anymore.
he sacrificed himself to save Earth by putting the nuke down the
Yeah.
throat.
Well, and it's funny because they have these kind of antagonistic characters that are all
Yeah.
they're Jaeger
Chuck.
pilots, right? Chuck,
The equivalent
And-
of Eye Patch guy in Atlantic Rim.
Well, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
so that's who you're gonna go with his eye patch. Okay,
Well,
I
I'm
was
gonna
gonna
say
say
Red
like,
is an antagonist. I hate Red.
Yeah,
though, but
Red is terrible.
So you think in Atlantic Rim, eye patch guy is the equivalent of Chuck Hansen?
well, he has an eye patch. Of course he is.
Well, I mean, obviously he's some kind of an antagonist, but I do think that it is kind of interesting to not have any other kind of pilot characters that are those kind of antagonistic kind of characters. But it's similar like
There's
Iceman
3.
and Maverick.
Yeah.
In Top
Well,
Gun.
I think
You
they
know
were
what I
trying
mean?
to do that with like the love triangle, but it's almost like you'll never get how these 3 people relate to each other since one of them hooked up with the other. By hook up, we mean kissed.
Right.
For real.
And then the way is like, oh, that's cool, bro. I banged my brother's girlfriends too.
Fuck!
It's like,
Right.
what?
Yeah. You're talking about how much you dislike Red. He's a completely unlikable character in pretty much
Accurate.
every way possible. So you have to wonder what was Green's name in Atlantic Rim?
Who cares?
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Or Superfly.
Oh, that's right.
I say that with quotations. We gotta
Jimmy-
talk about the fire
Jimmy
scene.
Cornball.
Yeah, Jimmy Cornball.
But so if they're trying to it's like they're trying to make you like Jimmy, but it's almost like I'm trying if they're trying to get you to
Superfly.
like Jimmy because in the end. I don't know, to like root for Red's turn. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what they were trying to do there. I
No,
just don't
it's
understand.
like Jimmy Buzzkill. Like he's like, you guys, like, hey, we're gonna go somewhere. He's like, I'm gonna go to the Red Cross
Superfly.
and mourn over everybody that's dead.
Right.
It's like, what?
I'm gonna go build a monument for
Yeah.
everybody that died.
But I swear that there's something in the edit of this movie because like things don't make any sense. Like when the second kaiju attack is there, these 3 pilots don't do anything. Like they escape with Red. Like all they do is save Red and drive away. Then like the next scene, like and the thing's killed by random pilots just dropping bombs on it. Like the kaiju were not, or the
50
Jaegers, the
Right.
bots were not needed.
The bots.
Right.
But then after that, like somebody's buying them drinks, like they're war heroes, and then
Right.
they're saying they're war heroes. They're saying they saved the world. I'm like, they didn't do anything. They drove
And-
away. Like something's wrong. This isn't making any sense.
Yeah.
We need to talk about the fire scene. So, after the first kaiju attack, when there's all the dead extras laying in the street for some reason.
For no reason.
Yeah, for no reason. And there's this burning building, which the battle did not even touch, and it's allegedly burning. So Jimmy Superfly Cornball goes in there, and
Buzzkill.
Jimmy Superfly Cornball Buzzkill.
Buzz Killington.
Yeah, Buzz Killington, Frederick Leopold Fazbarrington. He goes into the building, and because like some guys like, oh, my daughter's trapped in there.
Right, my
Yeah,
daughter's
so
missing. Okay.
this guy goes into this burning bar, and he holds a gun out like there's gonna be something in
Right.
there. Yeah.
Kaiju shrunk down to human
Yeah,
size
bro.
are now in there. It's
He's
like
looking for a little
aliens
girl
now.
with his gun out, like, get out or I will kill you.
For real. And like,
Right, Jason Bourne.
yeah, and like allegedly the building is on fire, but it's just a light.
Right.
Like until the very end of the shot of the scene, there's like one shot of fire, and it's just like
Well,
odd CGI
yeah.
stuff. And so he goes over and he finds the girl, and
She's
he's
just
like,
sitting there.
yeah,
She's
and-
not trapped.
yeah, no,
She's just
he's-
Behind the
tired.
bar.
She's just
Yeah.
tired.
yeah, and he's just like, you like superheroes? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, well, I'm Superfly, and I'm gonna get you out of here. Like, I was cringing
Stranger
so
danger.
hard.
Stranger danger.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
this weird bald guy with a gun is gonna save you.
Well, that's why I was like, that's why I'm like, maybe there is a story in here that they just lost in the edit. Like maybe like sci-fi made them shrink it down. Like because the movie doesn't make sense the way it is. I saw a dead guy blink. Like they're not even trying in some parts
no.
to edit this properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't disagree with that. And it's again, I feel like they're trying. I'm going back and forth because it's like I could just trash this movie left and right, but
It's horrible.
It's horrible, but you can tell that at least in some regards they were trying for like atmosphere. You know what I mean? Like with all the dead bodies, yeah, they don't make any sense, but it's like okay, we don't have a lot of money, but let's just
Yeah.
have a lot of people lying dead on the ground, and that'll add some kind of an atmosphere.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
in some instances like that, I can give them a little bit of a pass. But there are definitely a couple things in this movie that I'm just like, what are you doing? And so you mentioned Red going into like the brig.
Yeah.
So
The door.
right. So we're gonna talk about the door. So in that
No,
second,
not the
in
door.
the second,
Not the
the
door,
kaiju attack where they do
no.
nothing. They do nothing because Red is locked in the brig and they need
For
to get
allegedly
him out.
disobeying
Right,
orders.
which they just
again,
gave
in
him a medal for.
quotations.
So is he a hero? Is he a war criminal? What is he? But so this whole sequence revolves around the kaiju attack and them trying to get him out. And so clearly this is an airplane hangar at like a private airport somewhere
Yeah.
that they rented out, and they're just using this conference room as the quote unquote brig
Yeah, it's
on
a
this
huge.
military
Like
base.
it looks like a 1,000 square foot jail. So I'm like, this is not bad.
Right. And they've got a guard outside, and I get it. I've been there. Like I've made projects like this where you're like, okay, I have to make this seem like it's something more than what it is. Fine. I'll
Do your
give you
best.
right.
But they didn't make it seem like more than what it was.
Well, the problem is not only did it's not that they didn't make it seem like more than what it was. It was, how do I put this? They were focusing on the weakness. Like,
Yeah.
So it's like the weakness of that is, well, okay, it's like a French door, double
Right.
door with
There's no-
a single knob in the middle,
Yeah.
and like that's the locking system for this door.
There's no frame in the middle, so you could easily push it open.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So what do? They craft the entire scene about having to break down this door, so much so that Jimmy has to go get a hammer.
yeah, and
like,
he's just like fiddling with the
He's like,
knob,
right.
and then he eventually just like tries to break it down, just
Yeah.
like
he just
Well,
knocks.
and
the-
Red's like, just leave me in here. I'm like,
Right.
just push the
just
door
push
open.
the door open. So the
Yeah.
fact that they had
and then the knob
they
falls
wrote
off.
right, and the knob just falls off, and that's the thing. It's when you are you're making a movie like this, you don't necessarily want to draw focus to the weaknesses that detract from what you're trying to sell.
Yeah, they
So you're
take
trying
you
to
out of
sell
it.
that this is a door, that this door is a door that you can't just break down or whatever. And instead of understanding that and crafting the scene differently so it doesn't draw attention to that, they go right to the heart of it and
Yeah.
make you stare at the fact that this door is not the type of door that they want you to
It's
believe
even in
that it
slow
is.
motion. It's green
Right.
is banging on this
There's
door in
too much
slow
motion in
motion.
this movie.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
just as a side
yes,
note.
I want this whole movie to be in fast forward and get me out of it.
For real, it's torture.
It's just so
And-
random with the slow motion in this movie.
And I want to talk about like what happens inside the brig. It's nothing major, but so like it's Red and he's sitting on the bed in the brig, and then it like cuts, or like it doesn't even cut, it fades to him doing push-ups.
Right.
And then it fades to him writing his memoir.
Right.
And like at this desk. And then it fades to him like crumpling it up and throwing it. And then it fades to him like doing some weird twist exercise on the ground. Like, who are you?
How long was
man?
he in here?
Yeah,
You know,
I
it's
mean, I
just-
felt like
5
hours,
minutes.
but
Well,
yeah.
it's almost like if we were watching like Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's like when Graham Greene walks in and he's like, "How long have I been in here?" 15 minutes.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that's what like I
Got
feel
it.
like it's just
Speaking
like,
of Graham Greene,
okay.
speaking of cash
Elephant-
grabs,
The elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room.
Graham Greene is in this movie, and why is he so bad?
he doesn't care. This is a cash grab. This
Yeah.
is a cash grab.
Seriously.
It's his waning career.
It's like
okay?
500. This movie costs $500,000 to make, and he probably got paid 300,000 or something because
Right.
he's got to be 60% of the budget because his budget went nowhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, except the marketing. Like,
Yeah.
have you
Well,
seen the
that's-
poster? The poster looks nothing like the movie.
Smart.
So first of all, that it is smart, but like the kaiju looks completely different. The
robots
look
completely different. I've seen that.
and like the kaiju is tentacles,
Yeah.
and like it's in the style of Pacific Rim.
Right.
Even though this movie is nothing like Pacific Rim in the slightest.
Yeah.
Well, let's switch back to Pacific
Let's
Rim.
talk about the good movie.
That was
Let's talk about
horrible.
the good movie.
What does Pacific Rim get the most heat for? Because it's kind of like it's kind of rated fine. Like it's one of those movies.
Pretty
Bad
good.
critics review, good audience score.
Yeah.
When people trash it, what are they trashing it for? Like, why did it not really
I
be a
don't
home run?
I don't know like what people trash the first one for. However, something I do want to talk about is like how people trash the sequel to Pacific Rim Uprising, and how apparently some people think that Pacific Rim Uprising is worse than Atlantic Rim.
No, that's not possible.
That's
Yeah,
not even
that's-
remotely possible.
It was probably like some sort of trolling, but like I don't know what the first one gets bashed for, but I know
It's
that
mostly a style over substance thing, I
Yeah.
guess. Like,
Yeah.
they
I will say I don't know if
A
it
whole lot.
feels like a Guillermo Del Toro movie because like
there are
usually.
elements of it that do.
Well, I know,
yeah.
but I think like he's a better director than being like there's some elements here. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you usually like there's more.
Well, because this isn't a very.
It's too big maybe for him.
Possibly, I think part of it too is with Guillermo
For his
del Toro,
style, I should say. Not
right,
that he
you're-
couldn't handle it, but like just maybe like to get his
Right.
He's so
well, 'cause
much more of
he's
an
a-
intimate.
Yeah, well, and like he is a very. I always say this, like Guillermo del Toro is the master of the modern fairy tale, and I think that's such a different. The Pacific Rim is such a different type of movie
Yeah,
than that.
it's like King
there's
Kong
no-
is kind of fairy tale-ish, but not enough maybe here.
Sure, like, and again, you kind of have this like, it's robots versus giant monsters, like,
Yeah.
and that's what I think a lot of people will break it down to, no matter what.
Sure.
But I will say, I think the world is a lot more interesting than people give it credit for.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, Pacific Rim the Black.
Right, and that's true. And you kind of
Inspired
explore that,
spin-offs,
right?
yeah.
Inspired
Yeah.
spin-offs, and I think you're right. Those spin-offs that were able to elaborate on some of this stuff that makes it even more compelling. But even from an action standpoint, if you're looking for a fun movie, like Pacific Rim fills that role. So it's a really fun movie, and,
Yeah,
and even if you're not,
totally.
it's not going to win an Oscar or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I think the story is told well enough. I think you can
There's
say
some
that,
jumps in logic here too, but they
Sure.
make a lot. They're so much easier to look past than they are in something like Atlantic Rim.
The performances are great, for the most part. I think for what they're doing, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because again, you got to know what the type of movie you're in, and this is the type of
Yeah.
movie you're in. And I think Idris Elba is a great as Pentecost. Like I think he does a really good job. As opposed to Graham Greene in Atlantic Rim.
Right, he's not
he
trying.
cares, right? At least cares to be there, and
Somewhat.
right. And and I think that there's the ghost for each character kind of works, in its own
easy,
regards.
Yeah, it's an easy connection to make and
Right.
jump onto.
Yeah, and I think for Guillermo, like that was kind of the thing. Like he was making it, and okay, so I'm going to draw a comparison to Godzilla, which is obviously one of Mr. KittyKaiju's
Yes.
favorites. So
Yes.
you think of like Godzilla 2014.
All right.
A lot of
We can
people they basically think, oh, there's too much story in this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you switch to King of the Monsters, and there's a lot more kaiju action. in it.
Yeah.
But people also like
So
critics
there's
don't
not
like
enough
it
story.
as much, right? So it's like you can't win. So I feel like Guillermo was able to strike a really good balance
Yeah.
where he was able to put in enough story, but knowing that it's the kaiju action. Like that's what people are going to put butts in the seats. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I think he's able to craft those scenes in a really great way. Those battles are really fun. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, totally.
And-
They're awesome.
Yeah, and I think for me that overcomes those kind of perhaps certain paper thin issues with the narrative.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think like I said, it's fun. Like I guess you could get hooked up on like if you wanted like to nitpick things. I was like, when I thought it was really cool. Like the second brain they get from the
Yeah,
kaiju
Alice.
is the baby brain. But I'm like, you probably wouldn't have brought a pregnant mother into a battle, like into a war, or
sure.
create. But it's like, who cares? Like
Right.
that's not like it's a fun idea. It's a fun way to kill off
Yeah.
Hellboy. It's like
Right.
it's like that's what the science characters, like they're accomplishing something really important, but they're way more funner than like when you're with Idris. So it's like it changes up the pacing. It moves a little quicker and stuff. So it's like I don't know. I think it works, but
Yeah.
it's like I could see people focusing on it like over focusing on it.
Right. Well, and being kind of the opening salvo of the lore, I think is great. We the idea that like Newt comes to realize
My
that
boy, Newt.
they're all right, that all the kaijus are clones.
Yeah,
like having
right,
that
right.
kind of stuff, like those little
that's the
nuances
only
throughout
thing-
the story, I think draw you in more and to understand like there's more going on here than just
Right.
kaiju battles.
Because
you know
it's
what I mean?
well, because too, like if you wanted to nitpick, like without knowing the whole story, when you're like slow dripping the information, you'd be like, well, how, like there's no way that these random monsters coming through are like adapting to the kaiju. It makes no sense. They're not connected. And then you're like, no, they are connected. Oh, they're and they're actually produced. They are almost like mechs of their own in a way.
They're
Right.
You know
machines.
what I mean? Yeah.
Kinda.
Or
So it's-
they're like manufactured, like boy bands.
Yeah.
The kaiju are just one
Yes.
big boy band.
So like it all actually ends up making sense. Even at first, you might be like, "Man, this is like a little far fetched," or not far fetched, but like it's too convenient that the next monster is stronger than the next one and the next one. But it's like, no, this is on purpose. This is their
Right.
plan. Like,
Right.
So
It's the master
yeah,
plan.
you can't miss that part.
Right. Well, and even taking it into the the Jaeger pilots themselves, like you're talking about Mako and Raleigh. Like I think their
My dog Raleigh.
right, their story together is really compelling. Because he wants to help her become what she wants to become, but obviously she has her own issues, and he's very supportive of her. And I think the battle that they kind of go through together to get to the
Yeah.
point, of the final battle, I think is great and it's
Yeah.
compelling. And then Chuck and his dad, I think that's also a really
Herc.
interesting Herc. That's right.
Herc.
Is also a really interesting story.
It
as
gets
well.
there, yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's enough of that stuff that kind of go throughout the movie that I do think people kind of underappreciate the narrative of Pacific Rim, maybe more than they should, and then especially in contrast to Atlantic Rim, where there's literally none of that.
Yeah.
Like none
Yeah.
of it, none. There's no
Yeah.
compelling nothing. Like there's.
I mean, I was
no
literally,
nothing.
I'm watching like the length of the movie. I'm like, how in the heck is this movie even over an hour? There's no story here. Like, what is
Yeah.
taking so long? Get me out of this chair.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think it's funny how we've kind of gone through so many episodes of this show, and kind of maybe not looking, but at least expecting that we're going to feel a cash grab.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When we watched
Well,
something,
yeah.
and even when we watched Aladdin, that was, we thought, that was we even said it was a cash grab, strictly because it's Disney remaking their
Yeah.
live action, and we said that earlier. But this feels so much almost like a trick. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
I
a
don't-
con.
yeah.
It feels like a con
This
job.
is like, I almost would not even consider this a remake. Like, I would literally, like, the name of our show, like, this is literally them trying to make a copy
right.
of
Yeah.
this original
This is the
thing
purest form
no,
of what we
of a
talk
copy
about.
of a copy.
Right.
Like,
Here's
they are
what
literally
they're
just
trying to
copying
do.
the idea. They're not
Right.
remaking it, they're
Xerox.
copying it. And you know
Like-
when you make a copy of a copy, it comes in a little less faded than the original?
Yeah, well, here's what they were doing. What they were doing is they were creating a movie which its marketing was similar enough to Pacific Rim so that people would be like,
Confused.
okay, yeah, this is the thing. And then they would get it, and then they would watch it and then like not like it or care about it, but like the studio has their money. So the goal is reached.
Yeah.
Which is the definition of a cash grab.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you make it for as little as you possibly can, with the hope of getting somebody, tricking somebody to maybe rent it.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I worked at Blockbuster, I can't count the number of times when one of these movies would come out.
Shame on you if you let somebody rent this.
Well, I would always let them know. I would never tell, I would never be like, you should definitely rent it. Never, no. But like, this, this genre, it's a thing, and it's a business model.
Yeah.
Like, it's a pure business model, and like I said, it feels like a con job because you're just
Yes.
hopeful that some people will rent it just out of either of a mistake, or like they can't wait to see. They're like,
Yeah.
I can't see Pacific Rim right now, but Atlantic Rim's here, so let's try that. And obviously it's
if you showed this
terrible.
to your kids, they would never want to watch movies again. It's just horrible. Like, you never would want, like, this is
Right.
like,
Yeah.
if you ever made me watch this again, it'd be torture.
Yeah, like, so basically, to make a long story short, it's like, Mom, can I have Pacific Rim? No, honey, we got Pacific Rim at home. Pacific Rim at home.
Exactly.
Like, To sum this whole thing up.
Yeah.
That's the meme.
That is the meme.
Yeah,
100%.
that's what Atlantic Rim is. 100%.
Well, this is usually the part of the podcast where you and I decide, like, what if this is the kind of remake we think it is, what
Yeah.
kind of remake it is, if it's a remake at all.
We've
what-
spoiled
It's
that.
not.
We have spoiled that beyond belief, because this is 1,000%
More
of
than that.
a cash
Yeah.
grab. 1,000,000% a cash grab. There's no
Stop
there's-
killing it. It's already dead.
Right.
Bro. He's already dead.
This movie is basically the cinematic version of somebody picking your pocket.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
that's
bad.
what that is bad. It is bad. But
I would even, like, don't even watch it. Like, hey, it's so bad. Watch it. No, don't.
It's
Watch it.
not so bad. It's good. Well, it can be fun. It can be fun to laugh at, you
Yeah.
know, and
Make fun of.
yeah, make fun of. Because I enjoy doing that when we watched it.
We're doing
I
it now,
really liked
but
it.
well, I will say I'm actually not even necessarily sure I'm a firm believer of something that's so bad it's good.
Yeah,
I think
not
it's just
firm.
good. I think it's just good. I've had a lot of people that I've talked to, friends that make that argument. Like, there's no such thing as it's so bad it's good, or a guilty pleasure. It's just
Yeah.
it's good.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
So, but this isn't this isn't
Right.
even that. Like,
Yeah.
this is not
is so
it's
bad
good.
that
This
it's
is so
really bad.
This is really bad.
Yeah.
But as we've said before, the Pacific Rim is Mr. KittyKaiju, one of Mr. KittyKaiju's favorite
Yes,
movies, very favorite
definitely 2 or
cinematic
3.
universe. So before we go, instead of doing our normal summation, Mr. KittyKaiju, why don't you make a little pitch for why Pacific Rim is so good, since you love it so much?
Okay, so I really enjoy Pacific Rim because, like, I think I love, like, the monster movie genre, and I like big robots. Like, I'm into Transformers, like, Voltron, stuff like that. Basically, any robots.
Mm-hmm.
FNAF. But, like, big robots versus kaiju, peak. Except if it's Atlantic Rim. But,
Right.
like, I really like, one of the main reasons I love Pacific Rim is because of its high rewatchability.
Mhm.
You can rewatch it, like, so many times, and it never gets old. It is great, and I just love it so much, and I first watched it a long time ago, yeah, because it's just really good.
Yeah,
and
it's fun.
yeah, like it's kind of like a dumb fun action movie with like it does have substance like we talked about,
Yeah.
but like it's like a security blanket of media.
Yeah.
Like you can just watch it and be like, this is good. Like you're wasting away one night being like, oh, what am I gonna watch? Just watch Pacific Rim.
Call it Go to Sleep.
Yeah.
Well, and you've actually said that you like Uprising more.
Yeah, I used to, but like
Oh,
I watched
okay.
it a couple times, and now I just kind of like the first one more.
Okay, well, that's fair.
I
That's
do
fair.
really like Uprising though. I might have to rewatch it because we have it on Movies Anywhere.
Right.
But
Well, so okay, you said that which one was your favorite kaiju from the first?
Crimson.
Scunner.
Scunner. What's your
Oh, yeah.
favorite kaiju from all of them?
Stumped him.
I did.
That's tough because like I'd have to remember. I do really like the Breacher from Pacific Rim: The Black. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome. But I'm trying to think of kaiju from Uprising.
I do highly recommend
Yeah.
Pacific Rim: The Black.
Yeah.
As a series,
It's
like
really
offshoot
cool.
series,
It's on
really cool,
Netflix.
yeah.
I really like Obsidian Fury because so for those who don't know, Obsidian Fury is like a huge black Jaeger controlled by a kaiju brain.
What?
So yeah, it's like really awesome. And it's really cool. It gets taken down by a Gypsy Avenger, obviously, but like it's just really cool, and I think that's a really cool like way they executed that. And there's more kaiju that I can't remember. I like Shrike Thorn and Hakuja. Like they're really I really like Shrike Thorn and Hakuja, and I don't really care about the other one to be honest.
Cool.
But I can't even remember what the other one is
All right.
called.
All right,
But
real quick though, favorite Jaeger whole series.
I am going to have to say probably I can't remember what it's called. It's one of the ones from Pacific Rim Uprising. It's Guardian whatever. Can you look it up?
What's it do?
So it's like red and white and has these panels on its back, and it has these electric whips that it uses to like
Whiplash.
ensnare kaiju and like throw them. And I really like the color scheme, and it's just awesome. Its name is like
Guardian Bravo.
Guardian Bravo. Yes, I love Guardian Bravo, and I also really like Saber Athena.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
I like all of like the new generation Jaegers, but yeah,
Well,
summary.
There you go. So as we have said, do not watch Atlantic Rim.
Avoid at all costs.
Yes.
Just avoid it at all costs. But definitely watch Pacific Rim. Watch Pacific Rim
Give it a
Uprising.
chance if you haven't yet,
Exactly.
or if you've only watched
Pacific
it
Rim,
once.
The Black. All of those really great.
Yeah.
Atlantic Rim, terrible.
All right, everybody. We are wrapping up our conversation on Pacific Rim / Atlantic Rim, and this conversation couldn't be ended quick enough. I had a great time talking with you guys about this, but I did not enjoy watching Atlantic Rim at all.
Never again.
No.
Never again will I watch this
No.
movie, or will I recommend anybody else watch it either.
But as a form of torture, we will use it if you do not like this podcast. Subscribe to this channel or review this podcast if you're able to, because if you leave us a 5-star review, we're going to read it live on air someday, so that's pretty cool. Don't forget, you guys can email us at carrayrob@gmail.com or reach out to us on Blue Sky at carrayrob. So feel free to do that.
Absolutely. If there's a comment section on whatever platform you're listening to us on, by all means, let us know how bad Atlantic Rim was for
It's
you,
bad.
if you even braved it. Also, let us know what your favorite Jaeger or Kaiju are from Pacific Rim. Mr. KittyKaiju would love to be reading those.
Sure you would.
Absolutely. You can now find us on Facebook and Instagram.
That's right. Both.
We are cool kids now, so by all means, go and follow us over there. See all the great stuff we are doing. We will be back next week with a brand new episode of Say Hello to My Little Film. It is back to Ray. He did not like my movie this month.
Almost did. But,
Almost. It was close.
Well, you've
but
been
it wasn't
picking
as
at
bad.
me for
I have
3
been
months
picking
now.
at you for months, so I did not. So I got to see how he's going to respond to me on that one. But then we will be back in 2 weeks with our summer kickoff episode of Hello Movies, My Old Friend, where Ray and I are going to be revisiting the beach classic Back to the Beach.
Yes, we will. We're
Starring
going
Annette
back to that
Funicello
movie.
and Frankie Avalon. Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. I'm super excited for that. Next month, we will be back with a brand new episode of A Copy of a Copy, and we are doing something we have never done
I'm excited about this.
before. Yes, we are going to be doing a movie that is currently in theaters.
It will be by then.
It will be by then, because we are going to be revisiting the 1987 Masters of the Universe.
Which I hate.
Which you hate, and I loved. And something else that we've never done, I think, on our podcast before is a movie I love and you hate.
Yep.
So this is going to be super interesting. Plus the new 2026 version of Masters of the Universe, which will be released in June.
And which I'm looking forward to.
Yes, which you are looking forward to, and I am too. But that one is going to be super interesting, so you are not going to want to miss it. But until then, this is Car Ray Rob.
Where I'm Ray.
And I'm Rob. And remember, be defined by the films you love, not the ones you hate.
A copy of a copy. 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 A copy of a copy.